Hey, what's up? It's Steve, aka the Sign Picker, and today I'm going to show you all of the signs that I just picked from a scrapyard. I went up to Michigan last weekend and I picked through about 6,000 pounds of decommissioned street signs. And they're all here behind me, so I'm going to go through them, show them to you, and I'm going to update my sign wall. Here's a neat bike lane sign. This style was introduced to the MUTCD back in the 2003 edition. So in my mind, it's still a relatively new sign, even though the design is more than 20 years old. But what I'm happy about with this sign is of all the signs that I picked through, there weren't many of these in there. In fact, I think this was the only one that I saw that was in this good of condition. And if you've seen my videos before, you know I oftentimes like signs that have been out there and weathered. I don't really like the brand new stuff. I do like the brand new stuff, but I typically go after the stuff that's a little older. But all the other bike lane signs that I saw in the pile like this were all bent up. So this is the one that was in the best condition in terms of how flat it is. And it's got the most updated reflective surface on it. I don't think it was actually out in the wild too long. There is not a lot of post-marking wear on the back. So it's still a pretty new sign. When it comes to something like this, a lot of times street departments will take good condition sign backs and resurface them with a new sign. I'm not sure if this municipality does that or not, but this looks like one that could have been resurfaced. Some municipalities just don't do it. So with that, I took it home with me. Same deal with this emergency stopping sign. It's in really good condition, has the most updated reflective surface on it. So I never really know exactly why signs were decommissioned. Old signs aren't the only ones that are decommissioned. Sometimes it's new signs like this that are decommissioned. And this one, again, doesn't look like it's been out there very long. Doesn't have very much post-wear on it or on it at all. But it does appear that it had been in the wild for some period of time because the holes are punched through. Usually if it's something like a new old stock, so a sign that was made but just sat in storage and never was put out there, these holes would not be punched through. But here you can see that they are. But not a lot of post markings on the back. Still really good condition, both the back and the front. So just overall, really great shaped sign. As opposed to this sign here, which I got because it's in rough shape. I love the patina of this sign. There's a lot of cracking, a lot of splitting of the paint surface. And the message is interesting, except when turning right. So this sign would have been accompanied with another sign, and then this sign clarifies the exception. I'm not sure what that other sign would be, but the other thing I like about this sign is the font choice. The font is a little different for this. Normally you would use the wider version of Highway Gothic, but it kind of just has this old school vibe going on. I also thought it was really interesting that there's more space down at the bottom of the sign here between the baseline of the letter and the border, as compared to the top of the letters and the border up here. So it looks like everything is pushed up just a little bit. Really neat sign. I love the message, love the texture on it. Took it home. One-way traffic. So this is one that's interesting because I don't believe this sign is compliant by the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. I don't think this is one that is specified in the manual. So it's a unique message. The city just went rogue on this one, created their own sign. I assume this is to warn motorists who are traveling on a two-way street that it becomes a one-way street up ahead. So that's why it's an advance warning sign as opposed to a regulatory sign, which one-way signs are black on white regulatory signs. But I thought it was really neat. I've never seen one like this before. They certainly don't have them anywhere where I lived or anywhere that I live now. Was posted, you could see that it had some brackets here on the back, like some big oversized rectangular washers. And through the whole pick, this was the only one like this that I saw. So now I never seen this post in the wild. It's the only one that I saw when I was picking through 6,000 pounds of street signs. So wanted to make sure I grabbed it. Some really cool surface wear. All of this is dirt. I just haven't cleaned it up. So that's fresh off the block. Here are two decommission warning signs. This one is a reverse curve sign. This one is a reverse turn. So this one is a curve because the road is more of a curve, and that is a reverse turn because you will have to turn more at a 90-degree angle. These are pretty common warning signs. There's nothing super unique about them other than I don't have either one of these two in my collection, so I needed to add them. Well, I really didn't need to add anything. I really don't need all of this. And in fact, when I was driving home after this pick, which I got 10 or 11 signs. On the way home, I almost had this buyer's remorse kind of thing. Like, oh man, 10 more signs. Now I got to store them. At some point in my life, I'm gonna have to get rid of them. And I feel like sometimes I buy these signs and then I get a little overwhelmed with what I have. But then when it comes to doing these videos and sharing them, I feel really good about it. What's cool about these signs is these are old spec honeycomb reflective surface. And as compared to the newer reflective surfaces, these honeycomb surfaces from the 80s and 90s or so, maybe the late 70s. I'm not an expert on when all these reflective standards were introduced, but they tend to be a little more toward the orange side than today's standard, which is a little more yellow and a little brighter. So I thought these were really neat, just to supplement my collection. This one does have a little bit of post wear on it, but still overall pretty good shape for its age. I would say it's probably 20 years old if the reflective surface lines up from the time when that surface was the standard. This one, though, is new old stock. So as I mentioned earlier, the dead giveaway for new old stock is that the holes have not been punched through where you would mount the sign to the post. The other giveaway that a sign is new old stock is that there is no post mounting or wear on the back of the sign where it was posted to the signpost. But it has been in storage because there are some scuffs and some wear and tear around the surface of the sign. But pretty cool. All these years I've been collecting signs, as common as these two are, never had a chance to pick any of these up. So threw them in the trunk. Here they are. And here is another new old stock on the almost orange honeycomb reflective surface. Again, holes not punched through, no post markings on the back. This is a slippery when wet advanced warning sign, or as those of you who came up in the 90s know it as, the Skids logo. Footprints on it. I don't know if those are from my boots. When I went picking this day, they have a lot of stuff that's outside, and it was pouring rain out. So it was cold, windy, rainy. Not the greatest day for a pick. This one does actually have the year of the sign printed down at the bottom, 1994. So how many years ago is that? 30 years ago? So for being 30 years old, the sign's aged pretty well. Okay, here's a really great left lane end sign. The way to read this sign is that there are two lanes of traffic going this way, and then this lane comes to an end. And what a lot of people don't realize, the recommended use of the lanes when you see this sign is that you should come all the way up to here and then merge, and it becomes what's known as a zipper merge. So one car, one car, one car, one car. People don't always use it that way. Typically when people see a lane ending, if you're nice, they think they're doing the right thing. They don't want to wait till the last minute, get all the way up here and feel like they're cutting somebody off. So they'll start merging way down here. But actually that's inefficient because then it leaves all of this empty lane up here, which could be utilized as the two lanes would continue further. But what happens is people start slowing down here, starts causing backup of traffic on both lanes. Really, it should be a one and a one and a one and a one, people working together to get that lane merged down from two lanes into one. And I even saw either the Ohio Department of Transportation or Michigan Department of Transportation posted on social media instructions, directions on how lane merging, zipper lane merging should work. So check that out. Here's the old version of this sign, although this is a right lane ends sign. The big difference between the two is that the old version does not have the striped zipper lane markings here down the middle. And on the new one, that is what was added. It looks like the angle of this is a little bit different as compared to here, and they probably did that just so they could fit these lane markings in here. Otherwise, it would be a tight fit here. Kind of a neat sign. I've got two of these signs. Glad I grabbed this because you never know what the manual is going to update. And it's a constant state of evolution. There's always improvements based on studies, based on design changes, just to be more efficient. Certainly signs like this are symbol based on iconography and not on type. Yeah, now I could say that I have the old version and the new version of a lane ends merge sign. All right, there's the biggest one that I picked up that day, 36 by 36, 1-lane bridge warning sign. He's a little wobbly there. Kind of a cool sign that hasn't been transferred over to a symbol-based sign. Everything is still in a text message, so it's a lot of type for one sign that could potentially be consolidated into iconography. This has the most updated reflective surface standard on it, and you could see by the hole markings here that this was a double post mounted sign. Flip it around, and it doesn't look like it's been out there very long, but you could see just a little bit of where the sign was attached to each of the two posts. And finally, I got this little guy, fire hydrant marker, to identify where a fire hydrant is located, but also identify the number of the marker. It's got a little post marking on the back. Thought it was neat. I don't know what it is about this sign that other collectors love so much about it, just because the fire hydrant looks cool. I was glad I was able to find one way deep in the bin of street signs. This was hiding down there, so I had to dig a little bit to get it, but I saw it down there. I knew I wanted to have it, so was able to pick it up. Okay, I'm going to take all of those signs and build a sign wall, but just for diversity. I like to have a lot of different shapes, a lot of different colors, a lot of different sizes. And typically when I go through my process of pulling signs out, if you've seen any of my previous videos, you will know that I tend to pull out a lot more signs than I can put up on the wall. By doing that, it gives me a lot of options, a lot of signs to choose from. When it comes to what I just showed you from this pick, I had about 9 or 10 signs in there. It's actually, I mean, it's a lot of signs, but I'm not sure if there's enough diversity in there to get up on the wall. And I get all these new signs and I share them and then I put them away in here. I kind of want to put some signs up on the wall and enjoy them for a while before they go into the shelf. So just for the sake of diversity, I'm pulling this sign out, which is one that I got on a pick here in Indiana. I got this from a guy, retired guy, lives on a farm, has a huge barn, and he had purchased a trailer that he was going to restore, like an open back trailer that you hitch onto your car. And when the lady sold it to him, it just had a bunch of signs in the back. So this is from the Indiana Department of Transportation. I got this and 3 other signs. One of the other signs I got is another Indiana route marker, and I just love the wear and tear on this sign. I didn't have an Indiana 8 or 18 marker. I didn't have an Indiana route marker that is this size, and I believe this is the old spec design. I'm going to pull this out just so I can display this on the wall as well. And I also want to pull out this object marker, also known as a 9 spot, because it has 9 reflectors riveted onto the sign. This was a Facebook Marketplace pick here in Indiana, but what's really interesting about this sign is it comes from Los Angeles County in the state of California. County marker on here that identifies where the sign was posted. I don't know how this made its way to Indiana, unless it was like another sign collector like me, but the lady I bought it from didn't appear that she collects signs as like her thing. Really interesting. I don't know how she got it. I really didn't ask. It was a rainy, cold, windy day that day, so we just did the exchange and went on our way. But a lot of times when I meet somebody on Marketplace, I'll try to find out some background. How'd you get the sign? How long have you had it? Do you collect signs? Just to get some story. So I really don't know how it ended up here in Indiana. But when a sign like this pops up on Marketplace in Indiana, it's worth it to drive through really nasty weather for 45 minutes to go pick it up. So I'm going to pull this out for the wall as well, just because it's a smaller sign. Cool diversity in it. It's yellow, so that'll be a good contrast to the other signs I'm going to put up on the wall. All right, that's it. All of the most recent signs that I picked. I'm going to update my sign wall. It's time to pull down the City of Chicago wall, which I don't want to do because I really love that wall. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you go and check that out. All good things must come to an end, and I want to do a new wall of all of the new signs that I just got over the last couple weeks. So let's build the wall. Okay, there it is. Another sign wall complete. Signs I picked up in Michigan, plus 2 that I picked up in Indiana. I ended up adding the west auxiliary route marker just to give it a little diversification here on the end and cover up some of the blank space that was in between the except when turning right and one-way traffic sign. Got the big Indiana 18 route marker up there at the top, got the 9 spot in there, so wall's looking pretty good. Hey, if you want to follow along with all of my sign videos, hear all about my collection and signs that I see in the wild, make sure you hit subscribe. If YouTube's your not thing, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, if you're on TikTok, make sure you follow me over there as well. And I will see you in the next video.